My name is Paul Hicks and I'm Headmaster of Camberwell Grammar School and the current Chair of the AGSV. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this virtual event on behalf of the Board of the Associated Grammar Schools of Victoria. As we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we all stand right now. And I'd also like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present and emerging. Back in September, we had to make the difficult decision to cancel the AGSV Centenary Dinner, which had been planned to be held in the MCC dining room on Monday the 8th of November this year. It became clear to us that we would simply be unable to hold the event due to the current restrictions and uncertainty relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. This was sad news for all of us. We were very much looking forward to celebrating and honouring 100 years of the AGSV with all of you. Each and every one of you were specially selected to attend this event in recognition of the significant contribution that you have made to the sporting life within one or more of our schools. We wanted to come together to celebrate the achievements of our schools and the special quality of our wonderful competition. I'm disappointed that we're not able to do that as planned, but I know that our association is stronger than dinners and that we will meet again on the sporting field, doing what we do best, educating young people, once the pandemic is behind us. We've put together a little package for you, which will provide a small glimpse of what we had in mind. Please scan the QR code, sit back and enjoy internationally renowned poet Rupert McCall perform his tribute to the AGSV, and be enlightened by Yarra Valley Old Grammarian Mr. David Culbert and guest panellists who all come from our member schools as they discuss AGSV sport. While we can't be together to celebrate our centenary, I hope you enjoy this token to mark what is truly a special occasion. We look forward to getting back onto the field and again creating opportunities and memories for our students over the next 100 years of the AGSV.
Hi, my name's Rupert McCall and I was genuinely honoured to have written and now to recite this tribute to the Associated Grammar Schools of Victoria in their centenary celebration, or, as the title of the poem suggests, the AGSV. This is a true story. Devotion to the game you love, the thrill of hard-earned crowns, enjoyment through the ups in life, persistence through the downs. Commitment to a common goal, priority with team, endurance through adversity, investing in a dream. Respect for those who mark the lines, allowing you to play, the fair and decent principles that always light the way, honour, passion, loyalty, the pride of battles fought, the simple, humble beauty of this thing we know as sport. And all of these ingredients are akin to what we see in the celebrated journey of the AGSV. Assumption, Mentone, Marcellin combined in the vicinity of Ivanhoe Peninsula, Camberwell and Trinity. The cry of Penley Essendon with Yarra Valley Grammar, it completes the crest of colleges competing for the glamour of a title etched in history with memories aplenty. But to visit the beginning, we return to 1920. When amateur athletics sparked an optimistic dawn and the letters that we know today were rearranged and born, a different school conglomerate was tribally immersed. They ran, they threw, they jumped, they flew, and Camberwell was first. Caulfield's Billy Morecambe chaired the early congregation. 42 years service marks a wealth of inspiration. Contagious was the fever. So, in 1921, swimming, football, cricket, tennis joined in on the fun. Other sports would follow in the post-war grammar years, aided by the hallowed hands of priceless volunteers. Basketball and volleyball and badminton and soccer, hockey, netball, softball added substance to the locker. Yes, boys displayed tenacity, but girls were just as primed. And one day in the future, competitions were aligned. As touch enriched the modern mix, inclusive angles grew, cross-country made its presence felt, and table tennis too. Chapters were evolving, yet horizons were reliant on the view obtained by standing on the shoulders of the giant. Sir Billy aforementioned, Bunny Gramlich after that, Jock Herbert served when Trinity was strong with ball and bat, which delighted Ian Munro, who was epic in his prime. These celebrated servants who extolled the test of time, like the teacher, coach and master who was never scared to play 'em, the many sporting aces up the sleeve of Alan Graham. The voice of Nigel Kendall too, triumphantly instilling it, and the 90s left him smiling, because Ivanhoe was killing it. Yarra Valley sportsmaster and soon-to-be EO, Alan Crawley's legacy forever stands aglow. Yes, vigilance of vision was ingrained in the affairs of the many secretaries and the energetic chairs. Instrumental in the feat of giving girls their rightful crown, from the hallowed halls of Haileybury, the mighty Morris Brown. Ray Carroll at Assumption, Ian Mason ruled the court, and his Camberwell compatriot, Ron Wootton, loved his sport. It echoes in the logo. Such a consummate creator. Another crack contributor, the wonderful Rob Slater. Marcelin rejoices Justin Abbott's treasured reign, while pegs were firmly fastened to the feats of Catherine Lane, on a banner of achievement in the absence of conjecture. Family, the fighting force of Ken and Dustin Fletcher. The pen of Stephen Brennan writes a most impressive tale. Brendan Marnie's mission shone with green and gold regale, colours worn by Lethbridge on his medal-winning spree, having scorched the track at Camberwell and coached at YVG. Rod Lambourne led superbly in his blue, gold blue apparel, while the dig set spike was legendary from Mrs. Mary Carroll. Dr. Hicks and Rowan Brown exemplify the show, and they complement the office of our current boss, Troy Rowe. This quality of leader adds a raft of brilliant layers, but the score rests with the athletes and the coaches and the players. The many names of grammar fame lend strength to what we do. They will never be forgotten. No, and here are just a few. John Landy, David Culbert, Raymond Weinberg, Lyndon Hall, Craig Mottram, Scotty Ferrier, Alf Watson standing tall, Trent Cotchin, Ryan BROEKHOFF, Sammy Bramham on a wave, Steph Reid, Sod O'Donnell, and Neil Danaher, the brave. Heroes through the years that gave a licence to enjoy. Stephen Sauce Silvani, Brendan Smith, and Chloe Molloy. Wayne Arthurs, Shane Crawford, Lizzie Watson, hear the cheers. Josh Simmons, Dav Watmore, Shane Keith Warne, and Johnny Pearce. National anthems sing for them and glorious soprano, Marcus Bontempelli, yes, and Mark Bresciano. Well, they fly the flag for many who personify the rule with a kindred kind of excellence, the pride of self and school. And the hum of healthy body, with adrenaline combined, has an academic bearing on the sum of healthy mind, as the beauty of the balance and the educated spread lays a very special platform for a life that lies ahead. Well, now the sound of a centenary is beating with the drum. 100 years behind us, friends, 100 more to come. No matter what your war cry in the context of the mission, stand tall amidst the pillars of this marvellous tradition. Pay homage to the warriors, unsung and ever strong. When the memories come calling, rest assured that you belong. In the magic of this moment, be as proud as you can be. Then raise your glass with honour to the AGSV.
Hi everyone, I'm David Colbert and welcome to the first of our AGSV 100-year anniversary panel discussions. I went to Yarra Valley I finished in 1984. That is a long time ago. During that time, I loved my time playing AGSV sport. I started doing tennis and hockey, and then, of course, the annual athletics carnival, highlighted by Yarra Valley's first ever premiership in 1981. So welcome to our panel. I'm going to love talking about our time playing sport, school sport, AGSV sport. Collingwood and Assumption College AFLW player Chloe Molloy, current NBL, former NBA Boomers and Peninsula Grammar star Ryan BROEKHOFF, and captain of the Australian Diamonds, freshly minted Melbourne Vixen, and Penley and Essendon Grammar School netballer and athletic star Liz Watson. Welcome to you all. I'm going to start with you, Chloe. Assumption College, when I was at school, they never lost a football match or a cricket match to that, to be honest as well. A dominant era in the early 80s. And you benefited from that, I guess, when you arrived.
Yeah, I didn't obviously play football or cricket. That wasn't something that I could do, but it is now, which is awesome. But I was offered to play a lot of sports, including softball and basketball. So basketball was the one that I thrived in when I was at Assumption.
When did they start playing cricket and football? Because a lot of the schools now have got AFLW, women's football programs, and cricket as well, which, you know, it should have been there for a long time. But it's wonderful to see that girls have got the same opportunity now as the boys at school level.
I think I just missed it. So I graduated. Not a lot of you are probably going to enjoy hearing the year that I graduated, but 2016 I graduated. So I think it was only a year or two after I'd left that they had started offering up football and cricket for the girls, and they've asked me to come back and you know, be involved in that, and I'd love to when I find a bit of time. So I missed the ship there, unfortunately, but I think I played a small part in maybe pushing and planting the seed that girls should have the same opportunities as the boys.
And what are your memories of playing school sport at Assumption?
Well, one of the memories that came back to me was I, in year 7, started playing with year 12s in basketball, and I remember the rich history probably between pegs. We, in the basketball side of things, I know each kind of respective sport had their own enemies, but we didn't like pegs in the basketball sense. And I remember one year when I was year 7 playing in the first, we beat pegs, and that was a pretty big deal to beat them, because they had these 2 twins that were absolute jets who actually now play in the AFLW. So I mean, I look back now and I am fond of it. The Saturday morning wake-ups weren't always fun, but I think back now that getting on the bus and then getting McDonald's on the way back was something that I quite enjoyed, because you don't do that anymore. Get on the bus and just sit with your friends and just chat. So that's something that, you know, I'll reflect back on for a while and keep fondly to me.
Liz, did you have a disdain for Assumption like Chloe did for pegs?
No, I think ours was more Wesley, to be honest. There was always that rivalry in the netball, but I do know the twins you're talking about, Gemma and Sarah. Yeah, they were in my year at school. So we tried to get them into netball, but they were committed to basketball from year 7. And
so you were, you know, been a netballer through and through, and I guess, you know, you've now achieved a lifelong dream of just being recently announced as the netball captain, the Australian team captain. It's amazing. So congratulations. Thank you. But also, you know, athletics and being a sporty girl, you were probably into everything, I would imagine.
Yeah, I did everything at school: swimming, athletics, touch footy was my Friday night summer sport, and I did that because it was a Friday night, so we got to leave class a bit earlier. But I was athletics. I was in the 400, so I think because we had really good sprinters, really good long distance athletes, so they said, "Oh, Liz, you play sport, you can do the 400," because no one liked that. So that was my event in school. But yeah, I just got involved in everything throughout school.
And so you talked about Wesley, and you know, they sort of cut across. My boys go to Wesley, so APS, but they cut across the AGSV and APS competitions depending on what sport they're in. But it was one of the things about, from my perspective of AGS sport, was that, you know, you went to Mentone and you went over to Assumption, and the rivalries week in, week out, you just used to love. There was always something about the team that you were playing. Didn't matter what sport. for me, it was Mentone in athletics. They were always a bit too good. Or, whoever it was, there were rivalries left, right and centre, which I used to love. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. And I think we could see it a lot with the football program as well at our school. So Friday afternoons, we used to go out there and watch. And I think it was Pegs and Assumption in the footy just had such a big rivalry. But I think it was such a good culture for the school to be able to be part of that. We loved when people would come into the netball on a Saturday morning to support us. And there was kind of that buzz throughout the week when you knew you had a big game on the weekend, especially with a rival school. Everyone seemed to know at school, which is pretty cool.
Ryan, I'll bring you in because you're only at Peninsula for 1 year, but boy, you made a difference because I think you took the team from 6th or 7th to the championship. So you just went straight in, went bang, and then off you went to the AIS.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to at least get 1 year at Peninsula, and that was all thanks to being able to get a scholarship there. Just from my family situation, that was sort of out of our reach, and the basketball program is something that had a lot of pride in itself, but hadn't achieved much success. And I was lucky enough to know a few of the guys previously and played with them before joining Peninsula, and we just got on a great roll when we joined together, and being able to continue to play with them and grow and feel comfortable was very important to me. And everything just kind of took off after my year at Peninsula with going to the AES and everything afterwards.
What was it that you liked about the team element? Because school sport, right, you've got, and you would have been the star of the team. So, Liz and Chloe, we've talked about their involvement in their particular sports. There's the star, but the school sports scenario is that it's inclusive of everybody. If you want to put your hand up, you put your hand up. You have a trial. You might have a first or a second team. What was it that you liked about that team environment?
It's still what I love about basketball now is being around friends and playing a sport that I love with your mates. I made a lot of great friends in that short amount of time at Peninsula, and friends to this day still. And these are memories that we look back on. Yes, we remember winning the championship, but we remember the bus rides, like Chloe was saying. We remember, the training sessions, the hanging out, and just being around each other was the highlight. And I feel for kids, going through it right now, not being able to play sports, not being able to go to school and see friends. And that was such a big experience for me.
And what about the coaches? Because they're bringing in, professional coaches and not necessarily the teachers. In my day, it was the science teacher was the hockey coach. And I was a bit lucky because Alan Crawley, and he was in the Olympic final when Bob Beamon broke the world record. So he wasn't a bad long jumper. So our athletics team was in good hands with him and Mr. Lethbridge, who was a Commonwealth Games decathlon medalist. But what about for all three of you in terms of the coaching? And did you have the professionals come in, or was it still that time where it was just, the teacher who threw their hand up in the air and said, yeah, I'll give the basketball team a crack? We'll start with you, Ryan.
For us, it was actually my old Frankston Blues coach. He was brought in, I believe that year that I came in as well. He had a helping hand in getting me there. But yeah, it definitely was someone from the outside that they wanted to bring in and to try and turn the basketball program around to, they've had success in so many other sports, but basketball was one that hadn't broken through. And, there's a lot of pride in school sports and competition between, the great schools. So it was time that Peninsula jumped on board and tried to win one.
What about you, Liz?
We had, so Eloise Southby, ex superstar for the Diamonds, her sister, Laura Sharkey, who also had a really high, career in netball. She came in to coach us. And but even now, our Vixens assistant coach, Di Honey, is coaching at Geelong Grammar. So, and she loves it. It's still such a big part of what she does. And she's been there from, I think it's been 10 or 15 years or something now. So, she definitely loves it.
What about the athletics? Because there's no worse event than the 400, as I don't need to remind you. The level of absolute trepidation before the gun goes off, knowing that in a minute's time you're going to be in a crumpled mess on the track. How was the Pegs athletics team?
We were okay, I think. Lyndon Hall, Olympian, she was a Pegs girl. But I think going to training on a Tuesday and Thursday after school, I was always put into the long distance group. So I was with this coach, Ron, this older guy who was very old school in the way he trained. So everyone else was having fun in the long jump pit and high jump mat, and he'd make us run around the Maribyrnong River through the through the track a bit. So I somehow got shafted into the long distance group for the 400.
Well, it's held you in good stead now because you're a dynamo on the court. Chloe, what about you from a coaching perspective? More recently, I guess, and the schools, as we said, have become a lot more sophisticated, professional in a good way. The services that they offer their kids is extraordinary. What do you remember of your school coaches in basketball?
Well, we had the girls' parents who would come and coach us. Assumption wasn't a school that gave out scholarships to students, so I don't think they had the money to bring a coach in that was had obviously a basketball skill set. So it was just whoever parent could be bothered getting up Saturday mornings and then come to trainings. Ryan and Liz obviously had people come in, which I think benefited them, but Assumption kind of did it a different way, maybe like the old school way, and just, whoever's parent was available would get on the bus. But I loved that because we all three of us probably had competitive sports outside of that. So I always had a coach that was going to be very critical on my Friday night, my domestic and my representative team. So I was so okay with having a parent come in and be the coach of the basketball team, or a teacher.
Yeah, a lot of fun too. What do you take from your school sporting days that you still carry with you today in your career with Collingwood?
Well, for me, it's probably taught me about relationships, and obviously having a parent come in, they were doing that, off their own bat. So there was kind of, a respect sort of thing that you had to establish straight away, even though they might not have known how to, run the triangle defense or like the 5 out or something. You kind of had to work with them because they were there, out of pure love for the game and for the students. So, you wanted to respect them and what they were trying to do. So I think I take that with me in a sporting sense, an elite sense. A lot of relationships need to be based off respect, and no one, whether it's a player or coach, is greater than the other. So all opinions kind of need to be heard to get the best out of one another. And I think that's something I probably take from school and the way Assumption ran the programs with obviously volunteers coming in to coach. So that's probably something I'll even carry through until I'm Liz and Ryan's age even.
Oldies like you two. Wait until you get to my age and you've got a lot of experience. Hey, Liz, what about you? What do you take from your days at Pegs that you take with you every day as the Diamonds captain, but also just as an individual trying to get the best out of yourself?
Yeah, I think like Chloe said, it is that relationships that you have with your teammates, but also it sounds so silly and simple, but it was almost like the first step of being a professional athlete and what you learn in that sense, wearing the school uniform, going on the bus, going to another school, being in their environment, and how you have that respect with the umpires that came in, the staff that was there as well. And I loved after every game, we'd have that morning tea where both teams came together. I don't know if you guys had the same thing. Both teams would come together and the captains would say a little speech, and you really acknowledge the other team and I guess bring out the good that they did, and thanks to the mothers and the fathers who made the morning tea, the umpires, all that kind of stuff. So it sort of showed you that first step in what it's like to be at that professional level, and how you need to carry that, I guess, respectfulness and just being humble, even right from the start.
Were you a good prepper? Did you pack your bag the night before and lay out your dress on your bed so you were ready to go?
Yeah, I actually still do that. So there you go. I probably learned that in school, but it was probably because it was very early. I had no time, wanted to sleep in as long as I could, get up and get to the bus.
What about you, Ryan? Because you went to the AIS, which is that really interesting environment in Canberra, and then to college in the States, and then NBA team when you walk in and you're surrounded by your heroes and you're on the court with players that you've got posters of on your wall when you grow up. What do you take each and every day from your school experience?
I think it's a lot about preparation and being able to handle different workloads and different challenges. Still going to high school and playing on the weekends, as well as juggling, domestic and club teams and trainings throughout the week. It's a heavy workload at a young age, and if you don't sort of learn to take care of your body, eat right, time management with all your studies and schooling, and making sure you're getting everything done. It's just as important as your sport. That's sort of what I took through, and I was lucky enough to go over to college in the States. And again, it's just another sort of step up from high school, but we're still juggling studies, we're still juggling sport, and all the other personal needs that you have. But that sort of was the foundation for it. You get into that 16, 17-year-old age, you're starting to mature and become a little bit more independent, but it really focuses on you that you need to be well prepared, and you need to think ahead and plan and make sure that you're doing the best you can, and not just sport, but in your schooling as well, because unfortunately sport doesn't last forever, and we're going to have to get some regular jobs at some stage.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that does happen at some point. The bones get a little old. Just before we go, I'll just go around the grounds, because it would be remiss of me not to ask about what's coming for all of you. I'll start with you, Ryan. It's great to see you back in Australia, and the NBL season not too far away from starting, a little later than it probably would have normally, but we're just a slight delay and underway, and back in southeast Melbourne, Phoenix. It promises to be an exciting season.
Yeah, it does. We're lucky enough to bring the core group of last season's team made it to the semi-finals back. So we're excited, and we just started pre-season last week. So everything's ramping up. Season, I believe, starts for us December 4th. It's coming around pretty quickly after a lot of unknown and sort of dates getting changed and pushed back. So to finally have a date is something to look forward to and something to prepare for. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, just having a good season and building on what we did last year. And with a new club like Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, sort of getting really connected to the community and the grassroots around the Southeast.
Chloe, AFLW just continues to grow from strength to strength, and another season about to get underway.
Yeah, so we've started pre-season. We're into the second week of pre-season. So
how's that going?
Good. The lungs held up. No, I think it was more just excitement to be back, especially with the world we're living in at the minute. There was probably an added element of just wanting to be around people and socialise and be able to legally see your friends and have, I guess, an excuse that a lot of people don't have to be able to be under the one roof with multiple people. And yes, it's work, but I think I look at it and I'm very grateful that sport is something that we've managed to keep going and push through. And as Victorians, we keep pushing through. But I think in the AFLW sense, it was just more exciting to see people in flesh and meet the new ones that have come on board.
And a new season, so that's in 2022. Look forward to that. And Liz, you've still recovering from an injury, so you're not fully back on the court in the green and gold just yet, but a massive year for the Diamonds coming up in 2022.
Yeah, huge. We've started our Vixens pre-season in about a month's time, and then we're hoping to get away to the UK in January with the Diamonds to play a quad series, or it could be a tri series. We just have to wait and see who can get there, which will be pretty quick, get there, and we're kind of play it like a com game, so almost like a tournament style, get back home and start our domestic comp, and then once that's over, I think we've got about 2 weeks before the com game. So it's a pretty big year with netball, and then after that there'll probably be some more international matches at the back end of the year. So just came back from a camp with the Diamonds, and unfortunately we were supposed to be playing against England, but they couldn't get over restrictions and borders, and we know what it's like. So it was an excuse to have a squad camp, which was great. So we'll just wait and see what happens from here.
Hey, thank you. It's sad that we can't all be together in a room celebrating with all of those that have been a part of the AGSV sport for 100 years, but we really appreciate your time today. So to Ryan, Chloe and Liz, thank you.
No worries.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi again, everybody. David Colbert once again, and we're into our second panel, and this one's got a bit of a Yarra Valley theme, and I've done that on purpose. But I have invited David Zacharakis just because we need someone from Marcelin and John Pearce from Mentone. I'll do the full intros. Sam Harper is a former cricketer from Yarra Valley, still a cricketer, of course, now, but AGSV star, Yarra Valley star, now playing for the Melbourne Renegades and Victoria. David Zaharakis just retired from the Essendon Football Club from Marsland College, played first basketball and football for Marsland. John Pearce from Mentone Grammar, superstar tennis player for them, but now, of course, professional, winner of 25 doubles titles, and Olympic bronze medalist with Ash Barty in the mixed doubles in Tokyo. And representing two of my favourites, as we know, AGS sport wouldn't happen without the teachers who dedicate not just their school time, but a lot of time outside of that as well to us enjoying our school sport. So Mrs. Carroll, Mary Carroll, is the girls' sport coordinator, was a girls' sport coordinator at Yarra Valley Grammar, and Rob Lethbridge, who was a Commonwealth Games decathlon bronze medalist, went to Camberwell Grammar where he played athletics, football and cricket, but was the boys' sport coordinator at Yarra Valley. So let's get into it. I'll start with you, Sam. I have to say, when all my time at Yarra Valley, we weren't that great at cricket, and then you arrived and all of a sudden, whooshka, we were superstars.
Oh, being a bit kind there, Dave. I did roll into a nice Year 7 team, which ended up probably being one of my most memorable cricketing moments at Yarra. We were lucky enough to win a premiership in my first year in Year 7, and we had a couple of good Year 12s sort of rolling out the attack at Yarra Valley. So, yeah, it was a good introduction to cricket at Yarra Valley.
You must have been a fair player to just walk straight into the first in Year 7.
Oh, yeah, I was 3'6" and couldn't hit off the square, so I think I just blocked the new ball, and it was time to get out for the other boys to come in and make a few runs.
What are your memories of all of that? Was it cricket the thing that you wanted to do? Was that, growing up, watching as a primary school student, was playing professional cricket your dream?
It was always my dream. I think me and Rob will remember the sports complex we had there, and I was always in there with my brother just hitting cricket balls or really doing any sport we could sort of find. Our holidays were spent at school, funnily enough, with Dad involved there. And then, that just transcended into since I was 12, 13, cricket being the sport that I wanted to play.
When you win that first premiership, I was lucky enough to be part of John and David, when I say our, I'm talking about Yarra Valley, our first athletics premiership. And when you've had such a long drought, Sam, winning the first one's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great, David. It was especially good because you know how long the grass was at Yarra Valley. So
it was mainly mud when I was there, so good to know that the grass actually finally started growing.
Yeah, 100 off the 50 overs was usually a pretty good score. And the good old captain's speech at lunches, I think the Peninsula captain gave us a bit of a little dig in his speech saying it's bad luck you guys couldn't show up on the big day, only posting 100. And anyway, I think we had him 6 for 12. So it was a pretty easy afternoon in the end. So, it was good later on in a few years' time to be lucky enough to win another one.
John, you know what it's like to play first sport in Year 7. You did it from Year 7 all the way through to Year 12. Mentone won 5 out of a possible 6 titles in school tennis. What are your memories of your time at Mentone?
Oh, it was great for me. I mean, I was lucky enough to actually share it with my cousin my first year in Year 7 when he was in Year 12. So to be able to play in a team with him was something special to begin with. But I got lucky to roll into a team which was pretty solid to begin with, and then we just kept churning out boys that were really good at tennis, which was a lot of fun. I mean, probably, the biggest thing for me was just bus rides on Wednesday afternoon for school practice, and just sort of the little things like that where you all get together. Didn't matter what you've been up to at school, but you all get out, have a lot of fun and just come together as a team, really. And we became pretty close, all of us. We're still in touch with quite a few of the boys, which is good.
As I explained in the first panel, I played school tennis at Yarra Valley. The team element of the school tennis was awesome, and the structure of it I used to love. The fact that you played, a range of different formats and all of that. I know you love your team tennis, but did that help you to get to where you are now and being that team-oriented sort of guy?
Yeah, I love team aspects. I mean, any chance I get to play for a team, I mean, for me now luckily enough, I've got someone to lean on all the time now in playing doubles. But I mean, any chance we get to do it for more of a Davis Cup and HB Cup now representing Australia is just, you just come together, you play for more than yourself. And I know we don't get to do it often. So for me personally, the team aspect of it all is massive. And I mean, the other boys see it week in, week out, but just the way you can come together, you rise together and you sort of feed off each other's adrenaline and emotions. And as you said, you come out, the structure to it, it's very different, but also a lot of fun. It just brings individuals to come together as a team.
I have to ask you while we've got you, Tokyo, what a bizarre, amazing, incredible experience. Crazy ending to the tournament in the mixed doubles, where all of a sudden you've got the bronze medal alongside Ash Barty. It was tremendous.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. I mean, Ash and I penciled that one in a while ago, and to be able to play together, I mean, going into the event, we were unsure whether she was going to play all three, especially after her big summer leading into Tokyo. So to be able to get a chance to play with Ash and then walk away with a bronze is something huge. And I know we loved every minute of it together. And yeah, to think 12 months ago we didn't even know if Tokyo was going to happen, to now we're looking forward to Paris. So it was, yeah, something which you sort of itch and have a chill down the back of my neck thinking about Tokyo still.
Yeah, it was awesome. David, we've talked about 2 premierships. Can I talk to you about the 2008 final against Pegs?
Yeah.
Is it still? Does it give you a twitch?
It does, and I'll get to that. But I first want to say I'm still bitter that you stole our principal, Mark Merry. So let's just get that on the table first.
Great guy.
Terrific guy. So yeah, well done on getting him from us. But yeah, Pegs. I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to lose, grand final Pegs in 2008. And then in 2006, I missed out on playing in the grand final because a few of us were up playing for Vic Metro in Queensland. So we're fortunate enough to lose 2 grand finals to Pegs, 2006 and 8, which was fun. But yeah, 2008, it was amazing because our team was pretty strong. Luke Shuey, who's captain of the West Coast, was there, and you had Jackson Trengrove, who played in the AFL for playing for Pegs. You had Adam Marrick playing for Pegs. All these guys, Josh Toy, who played in the AFL. So just to play against some mates that you end up playing against in the AFL was pretty cool. And losing the grand final wasn't fun because we thought we were finally a chance to beat Pegs. But yeah, it was an amazing experience because you played with some guys who ended up making AFL and then played against them also.
We'll talk about this when we get to Mary Carroll, and you create a dynasty in something. And for Marcelin, when I was going through schools in the 80s, it was Marcelin and Assumption that were the footy superstars. Of course, Sauce would be just running around with a ball on a string, Marcelin, Steve Silvani. But the football culture at Marcelin was really strong, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I remember growing up at primary school in the late 90s that the talk was, what school you're going to go to and where you're going to go. And it was all us, my mates I was fortunate enough, we had about 20, I think, kids from my primary school go to Marcelin. And it was always, we want to go to Marcelin because of football. The oval was out the front, the John Bray Oval there. Everyone knew driving past what kind of Marcelin represented back then. And it was sport. And it was football and cricket and that. And I think, we wanted to go there to play footy, never gave out scholarships or anything like that. And I think that everyone just wanted to, I'll chuck that in.
I'm not sure everyone was believing that, to be honest.
It always gets a laugh when I say that. But yeah, it's just great that we were known in the area for that, for sport and for football, and it's always been something that the school was, or back then the kids sort of thought the school held its hat on, and we tried to just continue that when we were there. And unfortunately, we couldn't win any flags, but then fortunately they won, I think, 3 in a row a couple of years ago. So they won before and they won after us when we were there, but we didn't win while we were there. So,
and you also played basketball at school as well, which was basketball was only just starting as a school sport when I was playing, but it's become, hugely popular. We had Ryan BROEKHOFF on our earlier panel, of course, now playing for the Boomers. And how'd you go on the basketball court?
Yeah, so I made the ones in the end of year 9. So I had 4 seasons there, I think, 9 to 11, 12. And then Yeah, it was a great experience, but again, we lost 2 grand finals, so still couldn't win one. I think we lost Ivanhoe when I was in year 9, and then Trinity in a grand final, which again played against Todd Goldstein from North Melbourne and Dave Mackay from Adelaide. So I was playing against footballers even in the basketball terms, which was quite unique there. And Todd used to dominate and dunk on every fast break, so it was quite fun. But yeah, basketball was my choice early on in my career. I loved basketball over footy and always wanted to play that. But then when I realised I wasn't going to grow taller than 6 foot, that I probably should stick to footy, and in the end made the right call. But yeah, basketball was just as fun, rocking up every Saturday morning at the Veneto Club and seeing all the teams play before you, because we had, by the time we got to, I think, 2006 and 7, every team played at the Veneto Club between 8 and 12 on a Saturday morning. So you could rock up and see everyone play there, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yep. What about Dave? For John and Sam, did you play other sports as well?
Yeah, I have a similar story to Dave there. We made the hockey grand final in the first against Camberwell, and we had a now Olympian Josh Simmons and Kieran Anazan, 2 boys in the Australian team. Like we really couldn't lose, and they had some questionable tactics on the day, taking out a couple of our star players, which was always fun to think about. And yeah, we ended up losing. And it's funny, Dave was mentioning the AGS thing there. I somehow made the AGS hockey team, and I had no idea. Really, I just had those 2 putting it on the top of the D, and I got to swing as hard as I could, which put a few in the goals. And I had no idea when we went to the AGS training any of the drills, any of the runs, or anything the other coach was saying, because I was just so used to having those boys put it on the platter for me. But yeah, they were fun experiences. I wish I had the footy skills of Dave, but yeah, I was far too small for that.
How about you, John? Did you play other sports?
Yeah, I did cross country growing up, and unfortunately was too small growing up to play footy or anything like that as well. So stuck to running as something where I couldn't get hurt, so I could actually play some tennis in the afternoon.
Mrs. Carroll, you're on my screen. Good morning, hello, and welcome to you. We talked about the great traditions that you can build within a sporting school, and I think of all of the AGS schools, you've done it better than anybody. And all of a sudden you arrived with a passion for netball, but started up the volleyball team, and away it went at Yarra Valley.
Away it went, yes, indeed. I'd played a bit at uni, and I had a few friends. My daughter was playing, and so I had a few friends who knew something about it. So went and had a few quick lessons on what to do and how to coach a volleyball team. And it was great because it was a summer sport, and so it attracted all the footballers and the basketballers who love to jump and hit and block. And so it was, for them, it was just this, incredible sport that they suddenly got to learn. And we used to have a mini gym, which was opposite the tuck shop. And I sort of stuck a volleyball net up in there, and the kids used to fly up to the gym just to get in and get on the court so they could have a hit at lunchtime. It just became, I don't know, everyone just wanted to play volleyball. And so away we went. And I think the first year we lost to Camberwell. They didn't have a final, but we lost to Camberwell in that one particular time we played them. So that meant that we didn't end up on top. But from then on, I think, I don't know how many years it was. Do you know, Rob? We just went through and...
I think it ran to about 16 premierships, didn't it, over the course of your time?
Yeah. So it just... And I used to take the kids to nationals. We used to go up to Canberra. Alan Crawley and I drive the minibuses, and we'd take a couple of teams up to Canberra and stay in caravans next to the AIS and play against, the best teams in Australia. And I think things like that, which gave the kids something to really aim for, and just to be playing against the best in Australia, just helped the whole program. And it just blossomed.
I talked about it in the first panel, the lunchtime volleyball competition.
Oh, did you?
The steamed dim sims at the tuck shop were pretty good, I have to say. So I'd go and get a couple of those. But there was always an epic competition. And I can remember we used to have our, pick your own team and away you go, and there'd be a mini championship, and it was like a World Cup. It was sensational. But girls' sport as well, Mary, because Yarra Valley is a young school in the AGS system, but also a co-educational school in Year 11 and 12 firstly, and then broadening out about that, but you're a real champion for involving the girls in their sporting endeavours.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the boys seem to have it all. And I have to say, when I arrived, the girls in the athletics, Rob would get a laugh out of this, the girls in the athletics used to do the sack race and the egg and spoon race. And I said, you know, you've got to be kidding. We're not doing that. So, you know, so we just wanted parity and equality, and, you know, the girls could run and jump and throw as well as the boys given the opportunity. And I guess I just championed their spirit. And I'm pretty passionate, so it worked well. You know, and the girls were great, and we just used to then just go from there.
And Rob, you spent your life at AGS schools, you know, growing up in Ringwood, but going to Camberwell Grammar and playing footy and cricket and athletics, and then teaching at Yarra Valley. An amazing career involved in all of that. How do you remember the early days of actually competing in AGS sport in the athletics and the footy and cricket competitions?
Well, as you say, I was at Camberwell Grammar from, I think, the mid-60s through to 70. I'd played a little bit of sport at club level locally, but going to Camberwell Grammar was just like being a kid in a lolly shop. There was just so much on offer. And I got involved in a whole range of sports. I continued my athletics, obviously, and pursued cricket and football. But it was just the huge range of sports and opportunities that were made available at Camberwell that I really embraced, and I got a lot out of it. Now, you know, in some ways I was probably a jack of all trades and a master of few, which is probably synonymous with my movement into decathlon later on in life, where I dabbled in a whole range of events. But I do remember in those days at Camberwell Grammar, sport was very important within the school. We didn't have the full range of sports that are now available. I think the traditional AGS premiership sports were probably tennis and cricket in summer, footy in winter, and a swimming and an athletics carnival. There were lots of other sports played, but they were sort of in combination with a number of APS schools where they got together for fixtures. But there was really only 5 premiership sports there. So the competition was very fierce within the schools, and there were certainly some fairly good rivalries that were established between the various AGS schools in the pursuit of premierships.
And in the athletics, you had a great record for Camberwell. You still hold the under-16 long jump record, I understand. 1968. There was a pesky guy from Yarra Valley that took one of your records by a centimetre. But great memories of the athletics carnival. You know, I was reading the 100-year history book that Dennis put together, Mary, and it's a tremendous look back through the years of all of the battles that the schools had. But the athletics for Yarra Valley seemed to be the holy grail, didn't it? And we finally got there.
We did.
Yeah.
I mean, as an interesting aside, you mentioned athletics at Camberwell. I was in the athletics team at Camberwell all the years I was there. And we had some top athletes and some great teams, and we came very close at times, but we never won a premiership in my time. And I left Camberwell in 1970, and would you believe they won their premiership in 1971 and then went on a run of something like 9 out of the next 10 years. So clearly I was holding them back. But I did get some satisfaction because in 1981, Yarra Valley won their first ever AGS premiership, and to put the icing on the cake, it was in athletics. So I did get a chance to bring that Camberwell run to an end with a victory at Yarra Valley. So I was part of a coaching panel that helped that happen. And I think it was particularly significant in that year too, because Alan Crawley, who is a renowned member of staff at Yarra Valley, or was, and of course heavy involvement in the AGS, his number one sport and passion was athletics. So again, for him to win that first ever premiership in athletics was really something special for him and for the school.
John and Sam and David, Alan Crawley finished 6th in the long jump final in Mexico when Bob Beeman broke the world record. And of course, I went to Yarra Valley, and Alan helped me with my long jump, as did Rob and the athletics team. And when Mike Powell broke that world record in Tokyo in 1991, I finished 6th and jumped 8:02. So the world record in the long jump's been broken twice in 50-something years. There were 2 Australians in the final. Both finished 6th, both jumped 8:02. One was Alan Crawley, my PE teacher, and one was David Colbert, the student at Yarra Valley. It's an amazing coincidence. Just finally with Rob and Mary, that trio of you, Alan and Mary were a dynamic force at Yarra Valley. What was there seemed to be a good bond between you. You worked so well together, drove all of those sporting things. It was amazing, really.
I went to uni with Alan. And so Dennis then went to Yarra Valley in, I think, 1980. And the sports coordinator, she wasn't that, she was just in charge of the girls' sport, was retiring. And Alan said to Dennis, "What's Mary doing?" And Mary was having a lovely time. I was written a netball book, and I was just, doing sort of a bit of coaching around Victoria with netball. And so Alan said, would you like to come to Yarra Valley? So I ended up there half-time, I think, and for all the way through my children's primary school, I went from sort of a half to a third, 2/3, 3/4, 4/5, and finally full-time. But right from the start, Rob, we had this tiny little office, but the three of us just got on so well, didn't we?
Yeah, look, it was just the perfect marriage, if you like. And we all had that vested interest in sport, but also the just a really keen affiliation with the AGS program. We were just all on the same page, and it just worked well.
To Yarra Valley Fest here. Sorry, John and David. I'm going to come back to thanks, Mary and Rob. I'm going to come back to final thoughts from David, John, and Sam about message that you would have for those involved in AGS sport now, from your memories, and particularly, I guess, for students, but also for the teachers and the sports coordinators and all of those. John, I'll start with you. What have you taken from your school days that you still carry on today that the students of today can learn from?
I think just the biggest thing is give it all a go, and don't be afraid to go along and support the other teams as well. Because I also recall some of the best memories, even though I wasn't that great at the sports, was going along to the swimming and the athletics and watching the rest of the team get up and about, got the chants going, you're amongst it. Just the way the carnival is, the atmosphere is fantastic. And to be able to get amongst that and to be able to get involved and just feel the adrenaline and the way the schools compete is something really special. And I think that's something that's you don't get to be a part of very often, and any chance you get to be a part of that team and just that bond you share together in those moments is something really special, and just definitely just give it a go and get amongst it, really.
Yeah, it's good advice. David?
I think the same thing. It's I remember at Marsden when you play footy, you'll have all the kids coming out on a Friday afternoon and you'll have a crowd of 1,200 to 1,500 people watching you play footy, and it was pretty amazing the atmosphere you could generate down there. And that's kind of the team camaraderie that you have. That's what you always miss with your mates. You always banter that week at school at lunchtime, who you're going to play that weekend. And then you always talk up the rivalry with school. So like you're saying with Assumption and with Pegs, and that's kind of, you build up that through the week and then you play on the weekend. And I think just that, camaraderie, the rivalry is amazing. But also just the relationships you create with your mates. You don't just become students, you become best mates through footy, through sport. With your teachers become your coaches, and then they become some of your great mates for the rest of your life. One of my great mates who was at my 30th last year was my basketball coach, Ben Reynolds, who's partner of Kath on the screen here. So one of that, they become just, more than just teachers or coaches and that. So for me, you get involved in sport with school to get around your mates, but then they become more than that, and you just build a bond through that. So that's what sport created for me.
Yeah, it's excellent. And Sam?
Yeah, I'd touch exactly on what Dave said then. We had the same thing. We just played down ball every lunchtime and just talked about who we were playing cricket that week or hockey or footy that week. And it was pretty cool to then go out and play on a Saturday with those schoolmates. And I think you take it for granted that all of a sudden you turn 18 or 19 and you actually won't be able to go and play with literally your best mates in a sporting environment. So, it's probably up there with the most sort of fun and enjoyment I've had playing cricket. I mean, as soon as things left school, it became a little bit more serious, and I wish I could still play with the enjoyment that I had and the freedom that you can play within the school environment with your mates.
Yeah. I have to say, just listening to both you, Sam and David, it's no wonder that some of our teachers in the other subjects that were actually, that, you know, we did go to school. I went to school to play sport. Yep. Sounds like we all did the same thing. Yep. You know, no wonder our English and science and maths teachers sometimes weren't that fond of us, hey?
No, we had no time for them.
Hey, thanks to you all. To those watching this, I hope you've enjoyed the trip down memory lane. We've had two great panels, and this one I want to thank Sam Harper, David Zaharakis, John Peers, Mary Carroll and Rob Lethbridge. Thanks for your time.
David.
All right. Thank you.
David. No worries, thanks.